Welcome back, guys. Thanks for joining me for another beer review. We are looking at a beer that is, well, pretty local to me, really. It's from the Chester Beer Company, and we are taking a look at their Northgate bitter, and it's a premium craft bitter coming in at 4% in a 500ml bottle, but this was £4. Now, I know they're a small brewery and that, but £4 is quite an expensive beer, really. Let's be honest. For something in a 500ml bottle that's going to be sort of traditional or something. If it's a decent beer, if it's very decent, and I think it's going to have to be, it's justified. So yeah, I do like a bitter. It says on the back, marmalade aroma, rich caramel flavours, and a swift bitter finish. That's their usual artwork. It's a plain black bottle cap. I've got the bitter glass at the ready. So it's been out the fridge for an hour or two, probably a couple of hours, maybe in between an hour or two. So let's get it cracked open and see what we get. Now, I've had a few beers from them. I've had one dodgy one. As anyone that watches my channel will know, I'm not going to go into another big rant. Some of the beers have been good. One dodgy one, couple of average, one very decent. Hopefully this is going to be a good one. It's a beer in a glass. Now, I do like the look of that. It's sort of like an amber colour, isn't it? It's like a dark amber colour. I like the fact that it's slightly hazy. There's only sort of like a smidgen of head going across the top. I can see bubbles going up, which is good. There is still plenty more in the glass, in the bottle I should say. I'm going to bang a bit more in there. There we go. The head's livened up a little bit more there. So it looks like a decent beer. So let's try and give it a swirl and see what we get on the nose. Yeah, toffee caramel aroma I'm picking up there. Malty. A nice little backdrop of hop, I would say. Marmalade aroma. Yeah, you maybe say there's that little sort of marmalade thing going on in there. When you look at it and you think marmalade, rich caramel, you kind of think, well, that sounds a little bit odd. But when you sniff it, you get what they're doing. So it smells quite decent. Let's get the rest out of the bottle. Get it into a glass. There is still a little bit in there, but I'm not going to try and pour any more in there. Looks like a decent beer. I like a bitter, so let's give her a go. Cheers. Body's light, 4%. Yeah, you kind of expect it, but I'm going to say that is a little bit light, personally. Is it any worse than maybe other bitters at that sort of percentage? It's along the same lines. So it does make it a little bit disappointing on the body, but we'll go in, we'll do the rest. It's quite carbonated, and I think that carbonation is showing up by the lighter body. Because really bitters, for me, you don't want bitters too gassy, personally. I think if the beer had had a bit of a thicker, heavier body, you wouldn't have noticed the carbonation so much. Yeah, smooth mouthfeel. On the front end, the beer's a little bit disappointing. So like I said, the body's maybe not as good as I was hoping for. It's quite carbonated, which you notice more because of the body. It's not necessarily, again, the nicest of mouthfeels because of the first two bits, the body and the carbonation. But we're going on the taste. For me, you're met with the obvious maltiness that you get with a bitter. You get that little fruity hedgerow feel about it. maybe a touch sweet on the front as well, not massively, just a touch sweet. Little gentle bitterness on the back end. It's not massively bitter. You maybe get that little bit of caramel toffee thing, but for me it is quite faint. 4%, do you get that? I mean, you could think it actually tastes a little bit stronger than what it is, but for me it's all a little bit underwhelming. And I'm not just slating them because of any particular reason, honestly, and I'm not even slating them, but although there's a little bit more there in flavour than maybe some bitters, it's all very sort of standard stuff. It's nice enough, there's nothing particularly offensive about it, but it just lacks a little bit all round for me. It just lacks that little bit extra. Yeah, and that body is the biggest thing that really sort of disappoints me on the front end. You look at that, right? You look at that and you look, for me anyway, I look at that and I think, yeah, it's slightly hazy in that it's looking like it's going to be full of flavour, it's going to be a fuller body. Reminds me in looks of the extra Stone Crow bitter from Lord's Brewing. That was fantastic. This just doesn't live up to it. Granted, the extra Stone Crow bitter was 5% and this is 4%. So that's probably where the difference is. But although the flavours are pretty decent, it just feels like it's missing that little bit. It could do with a little bit more oomph, I think, in the flavour. It's not particularly bad, but it just lacks in other places. And I think sometimes when you drink a beer and it's just lacking somewhere, it can sort of make the rest of the beer seem disappointing. And I think that's what this is doing. And there's absolutely no way that it's worth £4. Absolutely no way. Again, like I say, I'm happy to support local breweries and give them a go and what have you. And I'll try them once, even if it's only once. But for a £4 beer, it sort of rubs a little bit of salt into the wound. So Chester Beer Company's Northgate bitter, their premium craft bitter, although not necessarily a bad beer, it's got faults, and for me it's overpriced for what it is. So there you go. Would I recommend it? I'm going to leave it like that. If you've had the beer before, feel free to let me know what you think of it. Thank you all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. I've not been too scathing because I've tried not to be scathing, obviously. But I hope you've enjoyed the video. Feel free to like, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all of you out there, for watching me video. There's another one coming up soon. Cheers.